I'm Kelsey Thorud, and this is The Minute. President Trump is deploying 2,000 California National Guard troops to LA as crowds rallied against ICE raids for a second straight night, blocking buses, setting fires, and demanding freedom for those detained. Governor Newsom says this move will only escalate tensions. The Trump administration is threatening to cut billions in federal research funding to UC and Cal State systems, putting thousands of academic jobs and groundbreaking research in jeopardy. The UC system is California's third largest employer. In San Francisco, hundreds gathered on Twin Peaks to raise the iconic pink triangle for Pride Month. Organizers of the display have always meant it to be a symbol of resilience in the LGBTQ community, but they say this year it also conveys defiance amid federal attacks on gay and transgender rights. I'm Kelsey Thorud with The Minute.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
A creative way to fill empty office space. We'll meet a Bay Area entrepreneur making art out of high-end meals and how it could help a downtown rebound. Plus, pigs kept in cages so small they can't even move. That's been banned here in California. How Congress could change everything. And building one of the world's most powerful supercomputers. We get a behind-the-scenes tour at an East Bay lab. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelsey Thorud. Let's get to meteorologist Darren Peck. It's a battle pitting housing versus parking. Menlo Park is trying a new strategy to meet requirements from its state-mandated housing elements. The city is working to build hundreds of affordable housing units in 3 downtown parking lots located between Oak Grove and Santa Cruz Avenues. All 3 lots are already surrounded by shops and businesses. Some locals are so concerned over that potential loss of parking, though, they're trying to block it through the ballot box. Max Darrow spoke with neighbors on both sides of the battle.
When Margarita Mendez looks at this parking lot in downtown Menlo Park,
maybe my kids could afford to live here.
she sees possibility.
This is a large piece of land that would fit a lot of homes.
City leaders think so too. They're pushing forward with a plan to turn 3 city-owned downtown parking lots into developments with hundreds of units of affordable housing. Per state mandate, Menlo Park, one of the most affluent communities in the nation, is on the hook for nearly 3,000 units of housing by 2031. Mendez, a teacher and longtime resident, says this is long overdue.
People that work here should be able to live here. You know, I would qualify for that affordable housing. I have 33 years experience teaching, right? But I'm lucky. I already own a home.
So the concern here is...
But Alex Beltramo, another longtime resident and a leader of the group Save Downtown Menlo, says any location would be better than the proposed one.
You know, it's not opposing housing. We all recognize that we need it and we need affordable housing. It'd be great for it to be near downtown, and there's lots of places that would make sense. But the worst place would be the downtown parking lots.
His reasoning comes from conversations with downtown business owners. 115 of them have signed on to a plea to the city council that's posted on the Save Downtown Menlo website.
Without that convenient parking, these businesses, most of them they won't survive. They will need to leave.
You lose businesses, it can take decades to get them back. You can't take away the buildings. You can't say this was a bad idea. It's irreversible.
Residents opposed to the idea have since sued the city and are beginning to collect signatures for a proposed ballot initiative that, if approved, would prohibit the city from converting the parking lots without voter approval.
So this is such an important decision that it should not be made by a 3-person majority of whatever city council happens to be in office. This decision needs to be made by the people of Menlo Park. So we want to help the city find other sites to put the housing that we need.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that every single time someone tries to build housing. It's the same lines.
Menlo Park housing advocates say the majority of the affordable housing that does exist is primarily concentrated in a historically redlined part of the city across 101. Mendez says more housing is needed throughout the city.
We absolutely need more housing in Menlo Park, and we need housing in all different affordability levels and all over town.
And she thinks the downtown parking lots make sense from both a fiscal and geographic perspective.
There's a lot of land here that the city owns, and the people from these homes could shop in these stores.
Despite the possible ballot measure and lawsuit, the city appears to be moving forward with the plan.
In order for the initiative to make it onto the ballot, supporters will have 180 days to get signatures from 10% of registered voters. That's just over 2,100 people. Turning to the downtown rebound, commercial real estate companies are still struggling to find tenants in San Francisco. The city's office vacancy rate in the first quarter of this year was just under 36%. That's a slight improvement, but still close to last year's record highs. It's clearly not enough to simply offer a standard storefront lease. Kenny Choi shows us how some creative minds are finding new ways to reinvent retail in the downtown core.
At One Market Plaza, just across from the Ferry Building, the Radiant Table is nearing the end of its 6-week run, offering an alternative type of dining experience.
When a guest comes in, they're sort of transported into this alternate realm where they're meeting their favorite chefs, but they're also experiencing their food in a way that they've never been able to do so before.
Sam Minkoff is founder of SC Productions. When the opportunity arose, he and his wife went to work quickly, building tables, setting up projectors, and transforming a co-working space cafe on the first floor in just 1 week into a colorful, immersive culinary experience.
The visuals on the table are meant to really complement the chef's meal, and the chefs design their meals around the visuals and vice versa.
In exchange for prime retail space that would normally cost tens of thousands a month, Minkoff and his team are showing how empty spaces can be used to attract permanent tenants. Once treasured pieces of downtown property worth hundreds of millions have sold for a fraction of what they were worth pre-pandemic. That's why Michael Seiler, the founder of Collective Impact, a strategy firm, isn't leasing prime commercial real estate to just any business. He's looking for visionaries, artists, and entrepreneurs who can offer a different kind of product.
If you can empower those arts, culture, and community leaders to activate the empty retail space, you immediately give them what they need to flourish, to grow, to get more people together, to grow opportunities for community and commerce, and that's what building owners want.
It's offerings like this, pop-up vendors, art galleries with wine and clay-making classes, and expos during SF Climate Week, for example, that Seiler sees as a way to create a hub for community and commerce.
The narrative isn't out yet that San Francisco is back. It's vibrant. There are communities churning out their next version of what San Francisco will be.
It's a vision of the future that inspires creators and entrepreneurs like Minkoff.
Our business specializes in different food and beverage festivals and concepts, but this is a brand new idea that we brought to life here in the Bay Area for the first time.
Bringing people to the table, connecting them with community, and hoping others will want to come back to a thriving downtown.
Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area on this Sunday, an entire living space dropped directly into someone's backyard. How some local homeowners are hopping on the fast track to the process of adding ADUs. Plus, finding affordable housing in the Bay Area can be a challenge for anyone, and that's especially true for the LGBTQ community.
Being profiled, having people automatically assume I'd be a nightmare tenant, having people just make assumptions about me.
We'll talk to one renter about a program that he says changed his life. And a new tax on California's pot shops is fast approaching, and for some dispensaries, it could be the final nail in the coffin.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Well, it was a sight to see in the South Bay as an affordable housing solution was literally dropped onto a family's backyard. The whole neighborhood came out to see the accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, lifted by a crane and installed in the yard. Arlen Ramirez spoke to the homeowner who calls the new space a game changer.
The sleek, modern ADU arrived on the back of a semi-truck, ready to be lifted by crane and installed in the backyard of a Campbell home, all in just one day.
Samara just checked a lot of boxes, so...
That's Owen, the homeowner, who says it's going to be a game changer for his extended family.
Mainly for my parents or in-laws. They like to come visit and stay with us for a couple months every once in a while, to spend more time with their grandkids. And so we thought having this dedicated space that's detached from the main house will really make everyone feel more comfortable.
ADUs, or accessory dwelling units, are small but versatile, usually ranging from 400 to 1,200 square feet. They're used as in-law suites, rentals, home offices, even housing for adult children. Samara, the Redwood City company that manufactured this home, says it's part of a broader strategy to address housing shortages without drastically changing a neighborhood's character. And with new zoning laws in cities like Campbell, the process of getting permits has become easier and faster.
Campbell has a great program called the ADU Express Plan Check, and we were able to get a permit submitted and issued in 7 days. So this customer signed with us just before the new year, and they're going to be in this home, in less than 6 months here in June.
Once the house was secured to the crane, it was gently hoisted into the air and lifted about 50 feet over Owen's main home. Neighbors gathered around to watch, and after only about 8 minutes, crews guided the unit onto its pre-made foundation.
Very exciting. It looks bigger in person. I think one of the neighbors says that's one of the most exciting things that's happened on the street.
Owen says the total cost of this one-bedroom, one-bath home was about $300,000, including the cost of the unit about $170,000, plus transportation and installation. A deck will be added to the front porch area, and there will still be plenty of space left in the yard. Experts say ADUs are here to stay.
You show up, there's a foundation, and at the end of the day, home drops out of the sky, and there's your home.
It's a flexible, more affordable alternative in a tough housing market, and for families like Owen's, it's not just a structure, it's a solution.
Many cities now offer online resources for homeowners interested in building an ADU, and some, like Berkeley, are even offering amnesty to homeowners who built one on their property illegally. Well, June is Pride Month, and here at CBS News Bay Area, we'll be highlighting the triumphs as well as some of the struggles within the LGBTQ community. One of those struggles can be finding housing in San Francisco. Suji Nam introduces us to William Anthony, who says he was facing housing discrimination until the Abode program stepped in.
I live in this kitchen. So I cook here, I do a lot of baking. It's really fun.
William Anthony moved into this apartment in San Francisco 2 years ago, and he loves it.
This is where I'll answer emails. I use my laptop to edit short films and school projects, also to get paperwork done for work.
He's a paraeducator for the San Francisco School District and is also studying cinema in college.
This is for Special Olympics. This is some of my students got these awards.
Anthony said, however, his journey getting here wasn't easy. After his brother passed away, he moved to Brazil to be with family. But with unforeseen circumstances, he accumulated debt. In hopes for a better future, he moved to San Francisco. But Anthony said, as a gay man with a disability, his housing search was a struggle.
Being profiled, having people automatically assume I'd be a nightmare tenant, having people just make assumptions about me.
But he found help.
Cool. Yeah.
Julia Parmer is the senior program manager for Abode, a housing nonprofit that serves low-income and unhoused families.
We got him plugged in with a service coordinator, case manager, and a housing specialist.
Anthony is one of more than 2,500 Abode clients receiving housing resources. But while he got the help, that's not the case for many others. The city faces a crisis with the unhoused in the LGBTQ+ community. According to the San Francisco 2024 homelessness point-in-time count, 28% of the more than 950 people surveyed in the homeless community identify as LGBTQ+. And the statistic is higher for the unhoused youth. 38% identified as LGBTQ+ and younger than 18 years old.
A landlord might just look at the application and say, forget it. And so that's sort of where we come in, is we build those partnerships with landlords out in the community so that we know who we can go to, and we sort of have a stock of housing.
But through programs like Abode, community members are helping more people like Anthony get the help they need.
They were a blessing. I feel like God sent them for me.
Abode helped pay off Anthony's debt and moved him into his apartment. That's now become a safe space where he shares many laughs with friends.
Don't let labels define you. We are so much more than whatever group society puts us in.
Anthony says he is grateful for the help and plans to pay it forward.
San Francisco Pride Month festivities will wrap up with the annual parade on Sunday, June 29th. Still ahead, California is raising the tax on weed, why dispensary owners say higher taxes are a buzzkill for the whole industry.
What we've seen in California over the last few years is a drop in sales and a drop of customers as they move to the illicit market.
California's more than 3,600 pot dispensaries remain hopeful after the state assembly unanimously voted to hold off on a new tax set to go into effect next month. The measure now moves to the state Senate. Dispensary owners tell our Kevin Coe the extra cost could mean the death of their business.
Proud of something that we built here locally in San Francisco, and the threat of it being ripped away is pretty real.
Duncan Lai is the owner of California Street Cannabis Company, which has 3 dispensaries across San Francisco. These days, he's spending most of his time crunching the numbers as a new cannabis tax hike looms.
The concern is how many people do we start to lose, and at what point does it no longer become viable to be in business?
On July 1st, the state cannabis excise tax will increase from 15% to 19%. The excise tax is one of 3 taxes required on every cannabis purchase in California.
Not to mention, it is a tax on a tax. So the sales and use tax is collected after the excise tax is collected. So it's compounding.
From San Francisco to Sonoma, Spark CEO Eric Pearson sees the tax hike as a final nail in some coffins.
With this continued compression of prices, it is the death for probably a couple of our stores. We're interested in staying alive, and what we've seen in California over the last few years is a drop in sales and a drop of customers as they move to the illicit market.
Data from the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration shows the state saw more than a $255 million decrease in taxable sales since 2023.
You may proceed when ready.
The dire direction of California's cannabis industry led Assemblymember Matt Haney from San Francisco to introduce AB 564, which would halt the tax hike for several years.
Fully licensed legal businesses in California capture just 40% of the state's entire market, while the underground illegal market accounts for 60% of the overall market.
It's a bill Duncan supports.
It's not tax reform, it's literally just freezing it at the already excessive rate that it's at.
A move, he argues, would buy time for the state to find a viable path forward.
And so what could California do is it could step up and support its local industry. There's a death by 1,000 cuts, and taxes are the biggest gash for sure.
Cannabis tax revenue is used to support local services, including public transit, school funding, and social services. Still ahead in our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area, they may look scary and they can be deadly, but rattlesnakes actually do a lot of good for our ecosystem. We'll introduce you to a researcher rising to their defense.
We need to respect them, okay? And they're gonna be here, and they're gonna be here no matter what.
Plus, a major threat to California's attempt to make sure pigs sold for meat must be humanely raised. We talked to farmers about why they support restrictions on their operations and why those restrictions are now in jeopardy. I'm Kelsey Thorid, and this is The Minute. President Trump is deploying 2,000 California National Guard troops to LA as crowds rallied against ICE raids for a second straight night, blocking buses, setting fires, and demanding freedom for those detained. Governor Newsom says this move will only escalate tensions. Federal funding for California's high-speed rail project is on the chopping block. The potential elimination of grants could lead to years-long delays and soaring costs as the state prepares to fight the cuts in court. The Central Valley segment alone now costs more than the original plan. In San Francisco, hundreds gathered on Twin Peaks to raise the iconic pink triangle for Pride Month. Organizers of the display have always meant it to be a symbol of resilience in the LGBTQ community, but they say this year it also conveys defiance amid federal attacks on gay and transgender rights. I'm Kelsey Thorid with The Minute. Most Most people are not big fans of rattlesnakes. They can look mean, sound scary, and can pack a deadly bite. But there's a lot of good the snakes do for our ecosystem, as long as you keep your distance. Brian Hackney introduces us to a Northern California professor who travels all over the state, and we mean all over, teaching others how to deal with rattlers humanely.
Out beyond the highways of the western deserts, past the palm trees of Palm Springs, where the desert towns sprawl over the desert itself, snakes begin to emerge from their long winter's nap, and that gets residents very rattled.
This is a community that is really interested in wildlife and nature.
Mitch Spike heads up security for the residents out here.
They don't like killing animals, so I had to try to find an alternative.
Oh my God, I love him.
So Mitch engaged the expert.
Such a mellow species of snake. Hi, nice to see you too. My name's Emily, and I'm a biology professor at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where this June is my 20-year anniversary.
Today, she's got a classroom full of security guards.
You don't need to like rattlesnakes like I do, right? You were just saying rattlesnakes aren't your favorite, but we need to respect them, okay? And they're gonna be here, and they're gonna be here no matter what.
And when they are, the first people called are the guards.
And they need to learn how to safely move those rattlesnakes out of the way instead of killing them. It's an ethical thing to do.
That may have the nearby bighorns scratching their heads, but in a classroom at the Boyd Deep Canyon Reserve, these folks have signed up to learn how to safely snag a snake.
So I'm gonna get the snake out right now. We're just gonna get the snake out, and we're gonna catch that snake.
And listen to this. That's the actual snake rattling.
Handsome. So this is a nice, big, speckled rattlesnake. They get bigger than this, though. That was great.
It's one thing to get them out.
If the snake crawls towards you, please back away and stay about 10 feet away from the snake.
Oh, don't come after the cameraman.
Kind of support the body a little bit, like so, to help get him into the bucket like that.
Finesse is important. About 2,000 people a year are bitten by rattlesnakes.
This was a $600,000 medical bill to a Boy Scout that was bitten by a rattlesnake. A full $150,000 of that was for the anti-venom. Okay, are you ready? Who's ready?
That's why they need this training.
So I pick up the snake by mid-body, and I'm gonna put him into the bucket head first if I can't get him all the way in. Oh, he's gonna be a good training snake. Okay, so let's have some of the experienced folks go first. Well, great adjustment. So just kind of aim more up here, and then you'll get a mid-body. Nice job, you've got him right in a good spot. It is really funny looking back how you find yourself in this niche specialty of being a venomous snake specialist. Do your best to try to get him in there. They were such fascinating animals. Oh, great adjustment, nicely done. And also people have learned that these animals are really important for our ecosystem. They help control rodents, the mothers give birth to live babies, and when people learn all these things about them, they don't quite see them as vermin anymore, and they want to be able to relocate them. Unfortunately, snakes are really negatively portrayed in most places on TV and the internet. Handsome. What I really wish people understood was that these are complicated, fascinating animals that do far more good for us than they do harm. Great adjustment. Like a pro. I love it. And that's what I'm trying to change their reputation.
One snake charming class.
Snake pose. There we go.
At a time.
2, 3. All right.
Nicely done.
If you want to recruit Dr. Taylor for a lesson on removing rattlesnakes or first aid when someone gets bit, you can reach out through her website, emilytaylorscience.com. Most people are not big fans of rattlesnakes. They can look mean, sound scary, and can pack a deadly bite. But there's a lot of good the snakes do for our ecosystem, as long as you keep your distance. Brian Hackney introduces us to a Northern California professor who travels all over the state, and we mean all over, teaching others how to deal with rattlers humanely.
Out beyond the highways of the western deserts, past the palm trees of Palm Springs, where the desert towns sprawl over the desert itself, snakes begin to emerge from their long winter's nap, and that gets residents very rattled.
This is a community that is really interested in wildlife and nature.
Mitch Spike heads up security for the residents out here.
They don't like killing animals, so I had to try to find an alternative.
Oh my God, I love him.
So Mitch engaged the expert.
Such a mellow species of snake. Hi, nice to see you too. My name's Emily, and I'm a biology professor at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where this June is my 20-year anniversary.
Today, she's got a classroom full of security guards.
You don't need to like rattlesnakes like I do, right? You were just saying rattlesnakes aren't your favorite, but we need to respect them, okay? And they're gonna be here, and they're gonna be here no matter what.
And when they are, the first people called are the guards.
And they need to learn how to safely move those rattlesnakes out of the way instead of killing them. It's an ethical thing to do.
That may have the nearby bighorns scratching their heads, but in a classroom at the Boyd Deep Canyon Reserve, these folks have signed up to learn how to safely snag a snake.
So I'm gonna get the snake out right now. We're just gonna get the snake out, and we're gonna catch that snake.
And listen to this. That's the actual snake rattling.
Handsome. So this is a nice, big, speckled rattlesnake. They get bigger than this, though. That was great.
It's one thing to get them out.
If the snake crawls towards you, please back away and stay about 10 feet away from the snake.
Oh, don't come after the cameraman.
Kind of support the body a little bit, like so, to help get him into the bucket like that.
Finesse is important. About 2,000 people a year are bitten by rattlesnakes.
This was a $600,000 medical bill to a Boy Scout that was bitten by a rattlesnake. A full $150,000 of that was for the anti-venom. Okay, are you ready? Who's ready?
That's why they need this training.
So I pick up the snake by mid-body, and I'm gonna put him into the bucket head first if I can't get him all the way in. Oh, he's gonna be a good training snake. Okay, so let's have some of the experienced folks go first. A great adjustment. So just kind of aim more up here, and then you'll get a mid-body. Nice job. You've got him right in a good spot. It is really funny looking back how you find yourself in this niche specialty of being a venomous snake specialist. Do your best to try to get him in there. They were such fascinating animals. Oh, great adjustment. Nicely done. And also people have learned that these animals are really important for our ecosystem. They help control rodents. The mothers give birth to live babies. And when people learn all these things about them, they don't quite see them as vermin anymore, and they want to be able to relocate them. Unfortunately, snakes are really negatively portrayed in most places on TV and the internet. Handsome. What I really wish people understood was that these are complicated, fascinating animals that do far more good for us than they do harm. Great adjustment. Like a pro. I love it. And that's what I'm trying to change their reputation.
One snake charming class.
Snake pose. There we go.
At a time.
2, 3. All right.
Nicely done.
If you want to recruit Dr. Taylor for a lesson on removing rattlesnakes or first aid when someone gets bit, you can reach out through her website, emilytaylorscience.com. Up next, Berkeley becoming home to the newest supercomputer to power artificial intelligence. Meet the Nobel Prize professor the computer will be named after. Plus, it's touted as the future, but why experts worry that AI may be contributing to climate change.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
In the global race to innovate artificial intelligence, the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory is teaming up with Bay Area chipmaker NVIDIA and the Department of Energy to build a new ultra-fast and energy-efficient supercomputer. Our Ryan Yamamoto got a tour inside the Berkeley lab where their current computer is already helping 11,000 scientists around the world with research, discovery, and innovation that will soon become even more accelerated.
When Jonathan Carter takes a stroll between the giant mainframes inside the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory,
it's an amazing place.
Even he is still amazed about where he has worked for the past 30 years.
Every morning I get up, I wonder what interesting things we'll be doing today, what science will be discovered.
Those discoveries courtesy of Perlmutter, the 19th fastest supercomputer in the world, part of the National Energy Research Supercomputing Center, known as NERSC.
So NERSC is available for anyone who is researching a scientific problem that is related to the Department of Energy's mission.
Missions that include creating nuclear fusion simulations, biological research, climate projections, or even mapping the universe, which takes a vast amount of computing power.
So imagine you have a really souped up laptop or a gamer PC, and imagine you could put 10,000 of them together and wire them together very tightly so that any one program that you are running could execute on all those 10,000 CPUs at the same time.
And now an even faster supercomputer is under construction. Last week, Energy Secretary Chris Wright and NVIDIA's Jensen Huang were at the Berkeley lab to make the announcement.
We're going to take a giant step up in several areas, in high-performance computing for scientific computing, but also artificial intelligence, as well as quantum classical computing.
The computer will be called Doudna, named after UC Berkeley professor Jennifer Doudna.
I can't wait to see what Doudna is going to calculate.
In 2020, she won the Nobel Prize for the development of CRISPR and gene editing technology.
For me, it really signifies the coming together of computing and biology. This is the future. You know, this is how the next breakthroughs are going to be made.
Breakthroughs in science that will now be at least 10 times faster.
We're not sure exactly how powerful it will be, but we hope that it will be in the top 5, maybe even the top 3.
But what Carter does know, what used to take days to compute, will now only take hours.
The Doudna supercomputer will be built by next year and go online in 2027. The world's fastest computer right now, El Capitan, is also in the Bay Area at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. In today's Project Earth, artificial intelligence has been touted as a groundbreaking tool in the fight against climate change, but experts warn there's a hidden environmental cost linked to the technology. A new report shows how AI data centers use massive amounts of electricity generated in large part by fossil fuels. Tina Kraus explains this power demand is expected to exponentially increase.
These marine biologists in England say artificial intelligence is giving them a quicker and clearer picture of how environmental changes are impacting plankton, those tiny organisms at the heart of the ocean food chain that help produce oxygen for the planet.
AI is offering us a way to unlock this reserve of information. This could be a real game changer for us.
But new research warns the expansion of AI could create a higher climate risk.
We know that AI can help mitigate climate change, but we also know that its current trajectory is unsustainable.
A report from Britain's Royal Academy of Engineering calls for the UK government to receive mandatory reporting from tech companies on their power and water usage, as they operate in massive data centers that use vast amounts of power and need cooling systems to prevent equipment from overheating.
Now, with the advent of AI infrastructure requirements, the future is looking increasingly difficult.
You choose Europe for AI.
With world powers racing to become leaders in AI, experts say demands for natural resources are skyrocketing and must be managed wisely.
The worst case scenario is that we will find ourselves making difficult choices when it comes to who has access to power, whether it's the data centers or normal people.
A climate conundrum even AI itself could struggle to solve.
Coming up, an artist takes her show to the East Bay to show off her creepy creations, the inspiration behind some of her work that's not for the faint of heart. Have you ever felt like you don't fit in your own family? If so, we have the perfect art display that's unlike anything you've ever seen before. The art exhibit has been on the move all over the Bay Area. Our Sarah Donchie introduces us to the Freak Family Roadshow.
If you've walked around parts of Oakland lately, you might have stumbled across this kind of creepy old man outside a trailer, which ordinarily might be a sign to start walking faster. But artist Joe Cunningham wants you to come on in.
Yeah, his name is Cecil. He's our tour manager. He kind of keeps us on the straight and narrow. Keeps the show running.
Cecil is one of several hand-sculpted creations, part of Joe's Freak Family Roadshow, a traveling art exhibit highlighting the quirky and bizarre that has taken the artist on a tour of the United States.
Inspiration. Come up against a lot of fear in other places, which is totally understandable. I'm like someone on the street begging people to enter an enclosed space that they weren't expecting, with like a scary gorilla right at the door. So
Everything in the trailer is either sculpted or curated by Joe, and all of it is designed to really catch your eye. There is an alien gorilla baby gazing longingly into the bathroom mirror, and an alien with a nicotine problem wasting away in bed.
It's wax. Yeah, this is the alien dad. He is kind of ailing right now. He's drinking a lot of caffeine, eating a lot of Jell-O, and smoking a ton of cigarettes.
All of the tiny little detailed trinkets you see in the trailer, Joe thrifted. And perhaps most impressive of all, she taught herself how to sculpt.
I went to school for painting and drawing, and I was really hypercritical on myself because I felt I should have been better or mastered it more. And with sculpture, I was very lenient and playful, and it just brought the joy of making art back into my life.
Joe based the traveling art on her own family, which, given the gorilla in curlers and the shirtless alien, might sound a little rude until she gives you the backstory.
It's deeply entwined with like my family, and my mom's a primatologist. This is a gorilla. My dad's an alien fanatic, and I'm somewhere in between.
Joe says the message is about feeling like you belong somewhere, even if that place is a smoky trailer full of UFO maps and cigarette butts.
If you want to learn more about that art exhibit, you can go to our website, kpix.com. Well, the 78th Annual Tony Awards are tonight, and Oakland native Daveed Diggs will reunite with other members of the original cast of Hamilton.
Now place your bets as to who that benefits, the very seat of government where Hamilton sits. Not true.
They'll be performing together at the awards show, celebrating 10 years since it opened on Broadway. The Tony Awards celebrating some of the biggest performances on Broadway with host Cynthia Erivo. You can watch the show tonight at 5 p.m. on KPIX. Well, thank you for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Kelsey Thorud. We will be right back with your First Alert forecast and today's top stories.